Continuing on with this trend of trying to cover Pokemon that were suggested to me, thankfully my friend Sean, aka Veno, suggested a lot more normal of a Pokemon, being none other than Landorus Therian. Now I can't lie, I actually got a lot of inspiration from this team from an Iron Leafs team actually that I saw on a few different channels. Particularly though, this team was built by someone by the name of Abraham. And it's a really strong team, and I felt like the particular version that I built kind of just takes what worked about this, but brings it up to an 11. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and if you do and you want to see more content like this, of course, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more, as I'm going to be bringing you guys a lot of really unique Pokemon in the next few videos, so stay tuned for that. But with that said, let's start off with our first Pokemon on this team being none other than Ogerpon-Wellspring. Now this initial team actually had a pretty bulky and slow Ogerpon, and personally I'm actually a lot more of a fan of the Swords Dance really fast Ogerpon, as I think it can pressure a lot of Pokemon that are really relevant right now a lot better. Specifically things like Adamant Nature, of course, since we do creep that perfectly, and with the Tera Water Ivy Cudgel as well as our Swords Dance and Horn Leech, this proves to be a phenomenal wall breaker, and with Spiky Shield, we can pressure a lot of Pokemon that would be targeting this, such as Chien-Pao, Dragonite, and Entei with E-Speed, and many other physical threats. With our next Pokemon, we have a phenomenal Trick Room option with none other than Pincurchin. With a relaxed nature, we have a very strong Speed F spread with Assault Vest, with Sucker Punch, Electroweb, Discharge, and Scald. This form is a nice way to not only take advantage of Discharge with Spread and Electric Terrain, it's also Scald that can handle a lot of different ground types or really any other checks to Electroweb and Discharge. Electroweb also gives this thing a nice form of speed control for our faster threats, and Sucker Punch is just good priority. Overall, this proves to be a pretty decent support piece on the team, and it especially benefits our Pokemon that is next on the team, being none other than Raging Bolt with Tera Electric. Now this initial set was actually very interesting. It was just a 252 spread, but I personally valued a lot of speed on Raging Bolt, as I do think it has some merits going with this much speed. With 115, we should be creeping all the way up through any sort of Dragonite and Rillaboom that might be creeping Tyranitar, which is decent because even if, let's say, we do fight a Tera Flying Tyranitar, we can nuke it with Rising Voltage. Dragonite, nuke it with Rising Voltage. Anything else, nuke it with Rising Voltage. A lot of these slower Pokemon peak around like that 114 sort of mark, and just making sure that we can nuke them with Rising Voltage, I think it'll be very useful. We also got a nice special attack boost with this, hitting all the way up to our 198 stat, which is a special attack bump with Modest. So I should get a lot of merit out of this Pokemon overall, due to not only its priority, but also its great plus special attack Rising Voltage with Tera Electric and Electric Terrain for that matter. So this is a great Pokemon overall here. Now, up next we have an Incineroar, and initially this team actually had a Tera Ghost Incineroar, but I'm personally more of a fan of Tera Water. So I went with the Safety Goggles spread that I actually built pre-Regulation F. With 244 HP and 12 Phys Def, this is great for any sort of Chien-Pao matchup, with the Speed F helping a lot with Pokemon such as Fluttermane and Chi-Yu. The speed overall should be nice because this should be creeping any sort of Iron Hands or any other Pokemon that like to hit around the 87 benchmark. This is great for going for things like Parting Shot, though I will say at the time of coming up with the Incineroar spread, I wasn't aware that Iron Hands actually switched to Clear Amulet, so that might be a bit of a problem for this particular one, and it might waste speed a little bit. So if you do find that being an issue with Clear Amulet Iron Hands that are really fast, you can dumb the speed down a little bit to whatever suits your boat. With the 36 attack though, this is just a nice attack bump, which is why I also didn't really mind going with the 60 speed here. And overall, this proves to be a very nice pivot for the team that can cycle through Intimidate as quickly as possible, and just go for Fake Out into most common Fake Out users besides Rillaboom. Up next, we have an Iron Leaves. As I mentioned, I took an Iron Leaves team, and I kind of ran with it, and this is no exception. With Iron Leaves in particular, we have a nice Tera Psychic with Psyblade that should deal a ton of damage with the Electric Terrain, or even in opposing Psychic Terrain matchups, this will still be a huge threat. With our spread as well, we get a nice speed boost from this Pokemon, making it an actual offensive threat to deal with. I almost said Nightmare, but I had to correct myself, as it is still an Iron Leaves. This thing has Celebi typing and pretty bad coverage. The Sacred Sword is objectively a great way to help pressure Pokemon like Gambit and Roaring Moon that would otherwise wall this thing out to hell and back. Finally though, we have the team star, of course, that is none other than Iron Dreads. Now, on the Pokepaste, you'll find this team is named Lando but Numir. On the Runnel Code, you're going to see this team is named Iron Lando. This is basically just Landorus. I kid you not, it's just Landorus that gets intimidated without intimidating back. But it is faster than Landorus, with our speed boost hitting all the way up to creep a lot of common Pokemon in the tier. For context, this creeps all the way up to any sort of Scarf Chi-Yu, which is great. I would have went one step further and maybe crept Scarf Landorus Incarnate, but it's not a speed tier I'm really worried about, to be completely honest. Scarf Chi was the most relevant Scarfer that I could have crept, so I went for it. With this attack investment as well, we'll deal a ton of damage, because Iron Tread still is 112 attack. Like, it's a fairly good attack stat with the Choice Band. And with Tera Flying, Tera Blast, this is great for a lot of grasses that would check you. For high horsepower, it's a great single target ground option, so at least we're not being weakened by Rillaboom terrain. Iron Hit is a great stab still for a lot of common Fairy types, and that's a really common Terra type as well. And the Rock Slide is just a great spread move for this Pokemon overall. The Runnel Code is going to be on screen here if you want to try it, as well as the link to the team in the description below. And with that said, let's get right to today's battles. All right, and we're here with match number 1. Arguably one of the most viable teams that we have coming up. I can't lie. This was a pretty good one. Iron Lando, kind of spin. In terms of this matchup, it actually also does really good here. Thankfully, there was a Iron Leaf team at bases off. I'll link that down below as well when I do this. Hopefully, if not, someone remind me. It's the Iron Leaf team that's on VGC pace. So if I do forget it, if I truly do forget, it's on VGC pace still. So check that team out at the very least. I got a lot of the pieces from there. This team would not be good without it. But thankfully, though, we do have a really, really good lead here. Now, I'm not really huge on leading off with the Pincurchin. However, it is a great switch in on lead. And it should help a lot with the Raging Bolt just dealing immense damage very early on. I'll probably lead that off with Incineroar. I don't think they'll lead with Kingambit. I think it's going to be a backline for him. And then I'll go with Pincurchin and then Iron Lando. Iron Lando will be able to steamroll through this endgame with Choice Band. It's literally, you guys will see. This thing is just going to perform as if it's a Lander Asterion. That's pretty cool. Can't lie, that is super cool. You know, we just have new Lando. Lando but Numier, as I called it in the Pokepace, which I couldn't fit on the rental, unfortunately, so I just went with the Iron Lando. But it is Lando but Numier, especially with Pincurchin. It's faster than Lando. And you go with Choice Band, and it kind of just kills everything. They're going to lead off with Incineroar and Roaring Moon. I'm very glad that I have my own Incineroar on lead, because I can just go for Fake Out immediately into their Roaring Moon. They'll probably go for some sort of Tailwind here. I don't really want to let them get off good damage, though, against my team, frankly. And if they Fake Out my Raging Bolt, I'm kind of fine with that, too. There's no reason to go... Actually, there's probably all the reason to go for Tera right now, thankfully. So I am going to just go for Tera, and I'm going to go for an Electric move here. Because with Tera, I can just kind of take any hit from Roaring Moon that it's going to offer, especially seeing this is a speed boosting set, which thankfully this Intimidate helps a lot with. So I'm going to go for Tera, and I'm going to go for the Thunderclap here. I'm going to go for Thunderclap right into Raging Bolt, not into Raging Bolt, into Roaring Moon, anticipating most likely Tera flying. And then I'm going to go for Fake Out right into the, probably into the Incineroar. Yeah, I'm going to Fake Out their own Incineroar. How fast is it? 60? It's faster than most Incineroar. I like the 60 personally. I think it's just a nice speed benchmark, especially looking at common things in the tier. Like the stat pace is any sort of really fast Iron Hands, which I know it's not a super meta Pokemon anymore, but it's a nice benchmark that for some reason a lot of slower Pokemon hit. Incineroar usually only goes to 12, so my Fake Out should always go before theirs, unless they're burning a Tera on Incineroar, which if that's the case, even better. It doesn't look like they burned a Tera on Roaring Moon, though. I'm still kind of fine with that, in all honesty. Like, it doesn't really hurt me. And then I can just switch out Incineroar and go for just a hard swap into Pincurchin here, and then probably just pivot back into my own Incineroar. They'll see that I went for Thunderclap. They'll probably avoid going for Tera, therefore I'm going to go for Draco Meteor, because Draco Meteor will just be the best way to hit this Pokemon. Actually, I could go for Rising Voltage into the Incineroar. There's probably a lot of merit in just killing that Pokemon as quickly as possible, as I will outpace it. So I'm going to go for the Rising Voltage here. And then I'm going to switch out into Pincurchin. I'm not sure if they've realized I have Rising Voltage or not. That might be another reason they didn't Tera, just to not auto lose to Raging Bolt, which is, it's honestly, it's really fair. However, I have no reason to avoid the Tera, because I'm the person that's going for the really high damage attacks here. If they hard swapped into their Rillaboom with Incineroar, good play. They did see that they were slower, but thankfully they didn't. They're going for Breaking Swipe, which does absolutely no damage, because Roaring Moon is kind of a weak Pokemon with -1 attack and speed boost. So I'm very fine with that. This Rising Voltage, meanwhile, is going to deal a ton of damage to that Incineroar. I got scared for a second. I misclicked because I really thought that I targeted Roaring Moon at first, which could have been bad because that Incineroar could have went for Parting Shot, and that might have been terrifying. But now they have no counterplay. They have absolutely no counterplay. And this Raging Bolt does prove to be a very good wall breaker. It can clear through most common things and just kind of leave the position to where teams cannot combat my Iron Treads. For example, though, this Kingambit should be kind of fodder, so I'm just going to go for a Draco Meteor into the Roaring Moon here. And then I'm going to go for a... I think I'm just going to go for a Discharge here. My Raging Bolt won't really take a lot of damage anyway, and it's just going to be a good hit that I can get off overall, especially in case of, like, a defensive Tera. But, like, on Roaring Moon, technically speaking, Tera Flying would be defensive in the case of taking Draco Meteor, so I could still get a good hit off on it. Same as, I guess, if Kingambit's taking hits. They're going to switch out of Roaring Moon, actually, which is interesting. They're probably going into Rillaboom, which I'm fine with. Really fine with that, actually. Yeah, Rillaboom comes in. Okay. Still, Draco Meteor is my preferred way to attack this mon, actually, so this works out well. And then, despite the fact that they do have the Kingambit on the field, I think my play is actually probably to just go for it. Yeah, they're going to Oversword them. Oof, that's not good. Yeah, I think it's to go for a Protect plus an Incineroar switch out, actually, because I can get a nice Fake Out mon on the field again. And despite the fact that Kingambit will now be at +3, I can still just go for Thunderclap and do it very confidently. They get Parried on Kingambit. Honestly, I don't really think it matters because they're still going to be very much in range of my Raging Bolt. Meanwhile, I can just go for a Protect on my Raging Bolt. And the goal here is really simple. It's just to kind of allow my Raging Bolt to deal more damage. So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for a Protect here. And then I'm going to switch out. Actually, I could just switch out an Iron Treads. I feel like there's merit in that too. I'm going to switch out an Incineroar instead. I know that I'm going to boost the Kingambit even further. I don't really mind though, because I do have enough outs to this Pokemon anyway. And the Tera only gives me yet another one. I can avoid Sucker Punch because of the fact that I'll attack first. And I can also just fake out the Kingambit, which is huge. So that also gets me a lot of pressure. Their Swords Dance though, they're probably Mono Dark, which is great because that just means that realistically they're going to have Sucker, Kowtow, Protect, and then Swords Dance. Really just good for the Incineroar because Incineroar is just going to wall it to all hell and back. They don't have some sort of coverage move. And even Iron Head would probably be taken pretty well. Yeah, so I'm kind of fine with this. They're not going to Iron Head an Electric type right now. They'll U-turn out, probably just to reset their own terrain, which is perfectly valid. I'm not really too concerned, in all honesty. I feel like that I'm in a really good position right now. And if they didn't go for Kowtow into Raging Bolt, which even still is going to take it really well, then I'm even more sad. They're going to bring in Roaring Moon here, perfectly fine. They're going to get parried as well. Again, I'm assuming that they targeted the Raging Bolt this turn, so I'm kind of okay with that. I don't really feel sympathy, but I'm fine with this. I'm very fine with this. We're going to go for the Thunderclap plus the Flare Blitz. I'm anticipating they will probably go for... Well, I don't really need to even fake out this Mon because it's slower than both my team. And if they're going for Sucker, then I outpace it anyway. So I'm not really too concerned. They're not going to Sucker my Incineroar. There's no world where they do that. But I think that they're either going to overprotect and go for Protect here, or they're just going to have to take the hit. They're going to Protect on Roaring Moon. Did they Protect on Kingambit though? Because I only really care about Kingambit this turn. They did go for Protect on Kingambit. Okay, that's fair. That's very fair. I'm very okay with this actually. Because I could still kind of just keep making this play forever. And if they're going to go for Swords Dance, then I'm kind of okay with that too. They might go for Tera, but I don't really care if they go for Tera because they're not going to have Tera Blast. And even if they do, there's no Tera Blast besides Ground that really punishes my team properly. So I'm kind of fine with that. They're +3, but I'm still very fine with this. Again, Thunderclap plus Flare Blitz is my best play, objectively speaking. And there's not a lot this Kingambit's going to do that's going to really threaten my team. So they're going to go for Tera finally, on the Kingambit for sure, because they're trying to keep this Mon alive. And they're going to go for Tera Dark. Okay, so Tera Dark Kingambit is decent. However, this does mean that they're now no longer a Dragon Resist, which is good to know if I want to Draco Meteor more safely on the following turns. We're going to get a nice Thunderclap off. This did mean they attacked. They're probably going for Kowtow. And that does okay damage for -2. I'm kind of fine with this. Breaking Swipe is going to go off. That will lower my Incineroar's attack. But again, I'm still kind of okay with this because I'm in a position now where they're going to kill my Raging Bolt for sure. But I can still just go for a lot. I mean, honestly, I have a lot of routes that I can go for with this. We get a Flare Blitz off. It's not terrible damage. And then Kowtow will pick off my Raging Bolt here. Again, perfectly fine with how this is playing out in all honesty. Because my Pincurchin can still do a lot here, surprisingly. You might be wondering how Pincurchin of all things is going to do a lot here. So that Incineroar isn't going to probably have a great way to touch me. They are paralyzed though, which is great. And I can take advantage of this and just start going for Flare Blitz plus, or even just maybe Parting Shot. I could Parting Shot too, to be fair. But I think I'm just gonna go for Flare Blitz plus Electroweb at this point. I'm not Electroweb. I could go for Electroweb actually. Electroweb wouldn't be bad, but I'll go for Discharge. I'll go for Discharge for now, and I'm gonna go for Flare Blitz. My goal at this point should just be to kill the Kingambit as quickly as possible, and I do feel like I have a good position to do that. Parried Kingambit especially is really huge. That gets me a lot of mileage with this sort of playing. They're gonna go for Sucker Punch meanwhile. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And they're gonna go for it into the Pincurchin. So they'll get a nice kill there, but again, I'm kind of okay with that. This Flare Blitz should still deal some solid damage. I am a little bit concerned with the fact that they could potentially Sucker Punch my Iron Treads. But it's gonna be something I kind of just need to hope I can either crit here or get a full para. Which if I get a full para, then I objectively win the game, because my play is then to go for Rock Slide. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see for sure. I feel confident that we can make this work. It's just going to be kind of a weird scenario. But thankfully we do have a nice speed boost here, so we're going to take advantage of it. We don't have our Tera anymore, which is a little unfortunate, but again, it's fine. We'll go for Flare Blitz plus Rock Slide, and we're going to hope for full Tera this turn. It is kind of our only out, and if we don't get it, then good play, because they're going to get a nice Sucker Punch off. But I can get off a really strong hit if they do manage to fail to get that attack off. Not only this, but their Rillaboom will die too. I'm not really too concerned with the Roaring Moon at this point in the game because it's just not going to take on my team 1v1. So the Quark Drive wearing off isn't a huge deal. They're going to go for a Protect this turn. That's fine as well, in all honesty, because again, I'm not concerned with the Roaring Moon at this point in the game. It's just not a threat. But this was a good turn to just try and get some health back on their King Gambit. So good play by my opponent for sure. But again, I should still be in a good position. I just need to bank on a full para. The full para is really what wins me the game here. And if I don't get it, then I can't win the game. But if I do get it, then I guarantee win the game. So they're now making my Incineroar healthier, which is great. The Roaring Moon was already definitely struggling to KO it. So by having the Incineroar plus Iron Treads on the field where they cannot really get a good turn on it with Roaring Moon, I'm kind of set here. We'll get a nice Rock Slide off with the Choice Band. This should definitely kill, in all honesty. And we'll go for Flare Blitz just because it hits both Pokemon as well as possible. And then, yeah, Iron Treads plus, okay, they're going to get the Sucker Punch off. Definitely unfortunate, but it is what it is. That will definitely kill, yeah. Okay. So that's unfortunate, but good game to my opponent. I still feel like I made the play that I had to. Specifically, I think in hindsight, maybe benching Incineroar was a better option than bringing it. I could have probably brought Waterpon, and I think Waterpon would have given me a lot more mileage, but I'm still okay with how this went. This wasn't really that bad of a lead. And overall, my opponent, I think they just did a really good job with positioning, which I think I did kind of fail to do. So, very good match. I will see you guys in our next battle of the video. So yeah, we'll see you guys then. All right, so we're taking on yet another terrain team. It feels like we cannot escape this when we bring electric terrain. To be fair, obviously, we do have Rillaboom, which is a pretty meta Pokemon, and indeed he's not exactly uncommon. It's just kind of funny that we're 2-2 right now for fighting terrain teams. Though this one's Psychic Terrain, which I actually match up a lot better against, in my opinion. The Tealpon is actually a really big concern here because Tealpon can kind of go crazy against my team. So what I think I'll do is I'm going to lead off with... I think my goal should just be to lead off with Incineroar Treads and just kind of hope that they don't lead off with Incineroar Tealpon, as it's the only way this lead goes bad. And then I'll bring Raging Bolt as a nice backline option, as well as Pincurchin. No, I think I'll go with Waterpon, actually. I don't care a ton about cleaning their terrain, though I guess maybe ditching Raging Bolt is not a bad idea. Or I could even just go with Waterpon and Treads on lead. I think I might actually match up a bit better. And then go with Raging Bolt Pincurchin as my backline, because that gives me an out to Torn Shifu. Actually, no, final answer. We're going to lead off with Raging Bolt and Iron Treads. I have to pop a booster, but I'm kind of fine with it. This is a very not punishy lead for us, and with the Tera Grass, I can still make this work. I'm also fine with just giving up my Raging Bolt's booster special attack this game, because by just switching into Pincurchin and getting my speed boost, I should still be kind of fine. Good luck and fun to my opponent, though. We're going to kind of just have to see what they end up doing, because there's a lot of different leads they have that can all pose different threats. They do lead off with Incineroar Ogerpon. Okay, so I'm definitely glad I did not lead off with my own Incineroar Ogerpon. My Incineroar, well, I guess Incineroar Ogerpon too, to be fair, but more the Incineroar and Iron Treads. So definitely a little bit of a problematic lead, but it's not the worst. What I can actually do here is I can put up a really good fight very quickly against my opponent. By specifically going into Pincurchin here, I can get a great turn 1 already off, and I can proceed to just go for a Rising Voltage right into that Incineroar. I'm just going to murder the Incineroar and not value the Ogerpon at all. I think there's a good chance they fake out my Iron Treads, actually, just because of the fact that their Ogerpon can kill it a lot more cleanly, and it's a much bigger threat to their Incineroar, at least on paper, until they realize that my Raging Bolt is going to completely KO the Incineroar. They're going to fake out an Ogerpon into a Raging Bolt. That's fine. They're going to for Stomping Tantrum into my Pincurchin. That's also fine, in all honesty. What I can proceed to do now is I can go for a Sucker Punch plus Thunderclap combination into their Ogerpon, and that should deal a ton of damage. I could also actually switch out here, to be fair. I could bring in my Waterpon, which should also take any sort of hit this wants to go for very comfortably, and then I can get off a solid... I feel like that Rising Voltage is still my best play, because even if Indeedee comes in, I'm kind of okay with that, since I can just reclaim terrain. I do, just to be safe, I do kind of want to go for it into the Ogerpon, though. No, I'm going to go for it in Incineroar in case they're Parting Shotting out. Because if they do Parting Shot out, that's kind of scary because it will start to weaken my Raging Bolt, and the best part about it is the fact that it will keep getting off damage. So I'd rather just do that. They're going to go for Stomping Tantrum yet again into my Pincurchin, probably just trying to get rid of my terrain potential, which is great because their Incineroar is going to die, and meanwhile, I still kept my Pincurchin around, which is huge. They're going to lose the Incineroar. That's perfect. Okay, so perfect. Their Intimidated is already immediately gone. I have a really good play right now with the Waterpon plus Raging Bolt into their Tealpon. They're going for Tantrum, which is kind of whatever against us. It's not a huge concern, even though it is super effective. They're going to bring in the Iron Crown, meanwhile, which is, it's a decent mon for sure. But my Waterpon should be pretty slow in comparison. Just to be safe as well, I am going to actually make sure that I'm going for a Spiky Shield here in tandem with the Protect. Just to make sure that I'm getting off as best positioning as possible against their team, because with the Psychic Terrain, that is kind of a scary position. However, I think the Ogerpon will just completely swap right now into Indeedee, and by scouting for that, I can make sure that I don't kind of fuck up. They're going to go for a Protect on Iron Crown here. I'm curious what the Ogerpon's going to do now. They're going to just try and kill my Raging Bolt, because I just went for dual Protect. Like, I protected along with them. This is still kind of fine. This is still honestly very fine, because I can go for an Ivy Cudgel here, and I can then proceed to go for a, not even a Thunderclap. I think I'll just go, no, I'll go for Thunderclap just to be safe. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna go for, I could also just swap. Like, I feel like swapping right into Pincurchin right now, and then going for a Rising Voltage is probably my best play. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the Rising Voltage here, because I should be slower than both these Pokemon. So I'll go for Rising Voltage into Iron Crown here. They're gonna probably switch out of their Ogerpon. Perfect. They're gonna switch out of their Ogerpon and try and clear my terrain now. They're probably trying to now kill both my Pokemon, and that's great because I now clear their terrain. They also have to deal with a Rising Voltage instead of just an Expanding Force. This is right now looking a lot more like a Raging Bolt team, but don't be mistaken. This is objectively an Iron Treads team, because Iron Treads has already actually claimed the game. It guaranteed wins now. And we'll see that very quickly, because they're going to get in a position where Iron Treads now actually is a guaranteed win con against both Pokemon, because I have not burned Tera yet, and Tera flying Iron Treads is actually impossible for them to kill. We've already revealed their Ogerpon cannot touch us. They're a locked Terra Grass. They have Stomping Tantrum as a move, which is completely walled, and also Ivy Cudgel, which is completely walled. Their Indeedee is not going to have a good way around us, and they're burning Tera right now on the Iron Crown anyway, which is great, because they're going to go for Tera Psychic, which that will boost Expanding Force damage, sure. We're going to actually get a really weak Raging Bolt that will probably die to them on the following turn. But I don't really care. It's a single target Expanding Force. I will still take this even with booster special attack on Tera. It's going to deal a lot though. Yeah, that's 58 right there. Their Ogerpon will revenge us comfortably. And they will think they've won the game. But they cannot win the game, because my Iron Treads has actually clinched it. Which, even if it doesn't touch the field, I'm still taking claim of that. Because Raging Bolt actually guarantee cannot win this anymore. It's already lost the game for itself, because I cannot kill with Thunderclap. I know for a fact that I kill with Thunderclap. That Ogerpon is going to be way too bulky. I'll go for it anyway, but I cannot kill. Plus, they're going to probably follow me with Indeedee just to preserve, and then kill my Raging Bolt in the process. Because that's what I feel like that's what you would do in this situation, because it completely invalidates my Raging Bolt, and that's the damage dealer right now. My Pincurchin, meanwhile, will not deal a lot of damage. But it's the only way to get any more chip on the Ogerpon. So just to be safe, I will go for the I'm going to go for Discharge here. And then I'm going to go for a Thunderclap, just for damage. Just for as much damage as possible. They will go for Redirection. Yep, follow me. But I lose Raging Bolt anyway, so this is always my play. If they really target the Pincurchin, I kind of fucked up, but I don't think they target Pincurchin because it is no longer of value against the team. So they are going to go for Tantrum, and they really go for the Pincurchin. Okay, fuck me, I guess. That's kind of silly. But I'm still fine, because this just means that the Raging Bolt is now even more useless. I can kind of just keep going for the Indeedee now with it, and then go for my Iron Treads Tera Blast, because Tera Blast will kill. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for Bandit Tera Blast Flying, because it kills. It just kills everything. New Me Orlando is going to show why it is New Me Orlando. And then we'll go for Drake. No, we'll go for Rising Voltage, I guess, into Indeedee. If they're going to follow me, then I'm kind of fine with that. But the Iron Treads now wins the game. Again, they have no counterplay to it, and when they see Tera Flying, they will forfeit. They will forfeit immediately when they see Tera Flying. Because right now they're thinking, oh, I can Stomping Tantrum. Oh, I can Ivy Cudgel. Iron Treads is no longer a threat. But that's where they're wrong. Because Bandit Tera Flying, this is just New Me Landorus. It's Lando but Newmere. That's all it is. And it will quickly Neum against the whole team. Tera Flying Iron Treads. It is time. This is the time to show why you are the best Pokemon in VGC. Every time I use this Pokemon, I fucking love it. It's one of my favorites I've used all gen. It's up there with like Volcarona. So Volcarona I have a very, very much love-hate relationship with. Tera Blast Flying will do a ton of damage because we're Choice Banded, we're not Intimidated anymore, and we're Stab as well. That does half right there. We did half with Tera Blast Flying. And they're going to kill my Raging Bolt. Fucks up of them, but it's fine. Because, as I said, the only Pokemon I need to win this game is the Iron Treads. I don't really care that this failed, because their Indeedee dies to one more hit, and their Ogerpon also dies to the first Tera Blast Flying we go for. Just to be safe, I'm going to go for Tera Blast Flying plus Ivy Cudgel. I'll go for it into Ogerpon and the Indeedee respectively, because in theory that ends the game the quickest, but it doesn't really matter anymore, because even if they kill my Ogerpon, I cannot lose the match anymore. They have no counterplay to this. And I know that's really anticlimactic to mention that like 5 turns before the game ends, but they have no counterplay to this. What's the counterplay? Like, it would be worse if I lied to you guys. If I said, guys, Ogerpon beats us. It just goes for Ivy Cudgel, and it's gonna do so much damage to my 120 Fizz Death Drown type that is now a Flying type Pokemon. And it doesn't outpace, but that's fine because it's just gonna kill. That would be lying, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. We massacre. We win the game. There's no contest to this. They cannot beat us. So great game, Iron Treads. You really are just New Mirror Lando T, and that's silly. That's super silly. We get a nice damage boost as well there, which is super nice. It's so nice to be getting from this. So yeah, solid 2 games. This already ended up proving to be a pretty long video, so I'm going to actually end it there. If you want to try the team, the rental is going to be in the description, as well as on the team builder section if you want to see how the team works. If you enjoyed and want to see more content like this, of course, like and subscribe. This team came courtesy of my friend Benno, who gave me the idea, and then I took a lot of the ideas off of the Iron Leafs team on VGC Pace. So shout outs to both of them. Great collaboration without intending to, I guess. If you want to see more content like this, of course, we'll have a very interesting team is the best way that I can put it for tomorrow. This is the team that I foreshadowed at the end of the the Iron Boulder video. Truly, it is somehow, it's no longer the worst idea on the list, but it's one of them. It might technically be the worst, but there's some debate now with batch 3 of teams coming out. So look forward to that. If you want to become a member and help my sanity with these really terrible teams, you get a nice extra video a month. If you're a super member with the bigger fan tier, of course, you get also team building help for 1 team a month. I'll go over that and I'll send you a nice video going over notes on how to improve the team and showing example matches. So make sure you guys check that out. Our current channel members, of course, are none other than Mia, Zeke0, Rao Sakura, Obo, Endless Gadgets, Josh like Ultra Player, Incog M, and our bigger fan, Vincent Wee. Shout out to all of you guys' support. It is greatly appreciated. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video, where we're featuring none other than Cacturn of all Pokemon. Look forward to it. It's a very interesting team. Until then, peace out, guys.